have a good look there when you get to the surface. Make sure there's not any large voids present or anything.
Roger that.
So it looks like a good hard edge on the concrete there.
It does, and it looks like right here is a seam where it could have poured right out, where it's a little proud.
Okay, can you pan up a bit? Yeah, okay, so I see the joint there. So there's no major loss under that steel beam there, the steel ramp facing.
That's correct, and the steel beam actually looks a lot better conditioned this deep down.
Roger that. It's probably away from where the actual ramp contacts now.
I think so. See another lifting eye.
And just for reference, Logan, you're at the 200-foot, 0 plus 200-foot increments that we have marked off on the dock here, just for reference.
Roger that.
The ramp begins at 0, 100, 0 plus 100 feet. What's the bottom type when you get down to the bottom there, Logan?
So far it's all been mostly sand and some smaller cobbles.
Okay, roger that.
I'll keep you updated as I go deeper.
Yeah, roger. Let me know when it starts shallowing up.
Roger that. You can see some of the ballast stone. Just one piece example here.
Okay, roger. Is it nice and secure? It's not spilling out. It's just you can see it through the sides of the cribbing?
You can just see the edge of it through the sides of the cribbing.
Okay, so it doesn't appear like any voids or anything are inside. You're just seeing the side of the ballast stone there.
Nope, no voids.
Roger.
And again, here's an example of the bottom, sort of cobbles and sandy pebbles.
Okay, roger that. And again, the timber cribbing face you're seeing there, the horizontal timbers still appear to be good condition.
The horizontal timbers are in excellent condition. They seem very tight together.
Okay, and that steel beam across the top, is that still present there?
Still present, but there's a damage mark here. Must have happened at low tide. Looks like there's an obvious scrape mark right here.
Okay, roger.
And then
Just 1 sec, I'm going to get a distance on you there.
okay.
Alright, we're going to say about 0 plus 220 feet there.
Roger that. It's about an 18-inch long by 6-inch wide piece of steel missing.
Okay, but on the either side of that, okay, it's actually tore off.
Yeah.
So the steel looks pretty good condition on either side of it.
Yep, I think it was a damaged scrape came along here.
Okay, roger that. And how far up from the seabed are you?
I can give you that. Just 1 second. I'm about 12 feet from seabed.
12 feet from the seabed, there's an 18-inch long section of the steel girder there on the ramp that's tore off, but the steel around that void appears to be in good condition.
Get into the heavier kelp. Crossbeam's still in good condition. They're tighter down at the bottom.
Okay, so no gaps you can see?
Yeah, there's no gaps. They're all tight together.
Okay, roger. So far consistently pretty good timber condition throughout.
That's correct. We're beginning to shallow off this.
Okay, are you walking there now?
Sorry, repeat that last one.
I'm sorry, you mean you're getting closer to the seabed there?
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant.
Getting closer to the bottom end of the ramp.
It's getting shorter.
And make sure you have a good look for any undermining, anything that you can notice down.
Well, there's a little bit here.
Okay, so that's just one area. So how long of an area, how tall, and how deep is that?
It's 3 feet off bottom. It's about 1.5 feet in. But I can't tell if that's if it was built on that's bedrock or whatever, or if that's concrete.
Okay, is it a pretty obvious indentation there? Just keep making your way along there and have a look. I want to see where you start at, so just one sec there, Logan.
It's definitely concrete.
You're at about the 260 foot mark there.
And it's about 8 or 10 feet wide.
Okay, 8 or 10 feet wide. How tall at its maximum?
It's 4 feet at its maximum, about 3 feet average throughout.
Okay, and how deep at the maximum?
2 feet deep.
Okay, and that's the lowest cribbing timber right there?
That's the lowest, yes, exactly. It's an area between two butt ends, so it's one horizontal, looks like it's missing.
Okay, so it's actually possibly missing bracing.
That could be it.
Okay, because that would make sense, because you still have the material behind it. Does it appear to be a big void, or do you just see ballaststone in there?
I see some ballaststone. It looks like maybe some remnants of concrete. Looks like what might have been aggregate, but...
Okay, Roger. So there is a void present, regardless if there's a missing timber. And do you notice any loose rock or ballaststone on the bottom there?
No, what's on bottom seems to be consistent with the rest of the bottom, so I think it...
Okay, so is that a gap beneath, like an undermining underneath the crib, or is there a missing timber and it's just in the bottom of the crib?
It's just in the bottom of the crib. I think it's a missing timber.
Okay, Roger. So there's probably a small amount of missing ballaststone there. That's the upper timber there?
That's the upper timber, that's correct.
Okay, Roger that. Okay.
There's a bit of a gouge in the steel here, missing area. Towards the bottom.
Okay. Is the steel in place?
Say again?
Is the steel in place?
The steel is in place, just it looks like before, like an area has been ripped off just a little bit.
Okay, Roger.
Only about 2 or 3 inch wide strip this time.
Okay, Roger, so the steel on either side of it appears good?
That's correct.
So that actual steel plate there is not separating from the ramp or anything?
No, it's
okay.
Secure, but a piece of exposed rebar here going into the ramp.
Okay, so there is a little bit of concrete loss there. Is that underneath where the that steel plate should be?
Only part of this is where it should be, and it continues on from there.
Okay, Roger.
And it looks like this is the very end, actually. About 1.5 feet away is the very end of that steel plate.
Okay, so at the end of the steel plate, there's how big of a section appears to be missing there?
I think it should be about my hand spread here is where it should sit, so it's about 6 inches missing by 2.5 feet wide.
Okay, there's no pieces of that sticking up proud of the ramp, is there?
No, there's not. It's all either moved down or it's...
Okay, and you can tell that that's where it kind of angles in, is formed into the ramp?
That's correct. You can see the hard edge right here where it was cut.
Oh, okay, it's cut right off there, okay.
That was done there at some point.
Okay, so keep making your way down the side there, and we'll get the side of her done anyway.
Another area of possible undermining here is missing timber.
Can you see the bottom timber there?
I can see timber inside here, but it looks...
Like, could it be the deck? There's probably a full row of timbers across the bottom of the crib, right?
There should be, but this doesn't look even. This doesn't look like it's going... This is a timber here, and it's not going horizontal. It's sort of off at an angle, and over here is very obviously concrete.
Okay, roger that. So it's how big of a void are you seeing there?
From the outside face, which is where my hand is, if you can still see, it's about 2.5 feet in, and about 4 feet wide, and 2 feet high at the highest.
Okay, just one second, I want to get a location on it.
Roger that.
Yeah, around to about 0 plus 270 feet there.
Roger that. Now, there's a pretty large fissure in the concrete here.
A very large, sorry, what was that?
A fissure, a very large crack, about a foot wide at the widest. It's all grown in, but...
Okay, and that's right on the side?
It's on the side and the top face.
Okay, so it's running transversely or longitudinally?
It's both. It's the corner. It seems almost like it's crumbling.
Okay, Roger. So is it like a cold joint, or is it just actual deterioration of the concrete?
I think it's deterioration of the concrete, like the last section at the very bottom. Seems like it's, the corner's missing, the very far corner, and then from there on there's a bunch of cracks running.
Okay, so you were looking at the end of the ramp over there?
This is the very end.
Okay, so just give me an overall kind of size there of maximum length in spalling. Is that undermined there?
I think this used to be attached to it. I think this is the piece that's missing off the bottom.
Okay, so that's a large chunk of concrete falling off the side there?
I think so.
Can you let me know how big of an area of void is at the bottom end of the ramp there?
Can I get some more light to the camera?
That's all you got there.
Yeah, okay. I would say about 8.5, 9 feet in, by 6 feet wide. And that looks like armor stone beneath, so it was probably never that far down, so I'd say 3 feet high.
Okay, Roger, so that's the void right at the very end of the ramp there on the outside.
That's correct.
Okay, do you want to just come across the bottom face there?
Roger that. So I'm going to put the face. You can see the edge here.
Okay, so a good hard edge anyway. How much elevation is there from the seabed up to the bottom of the ramp?
It's about a foot.
Okay, so it's pretty low. So just make your way across there, have a good look.
I don't know if there's a piece over here, I can't tell if that used to be.
Oh, go have a look at that, because maybe it should have continued right across the seabed here. That definitely looks like a large piece of the ramp.
It looks pretty thin, and it also doesn't end any smoother on the other side, but it could have just been, undermined since then, so.
Yeah, it's probably just separating, but it looks like the same width and everything as the ramp.
It does. It used to be same width as the ramp. I'd say it's 8 feet wide.
Okay, Roger, and it separates right off. How far away from the last piece of ramp that's actually still intact is it?
It's about 4 feet of separation.
4 feet of separation.
From here to there.
Okay, that's a good shot. Now just make your way up. Just kind of make your way up and pan back and forth across the ramp face there, Logan.
Roger that.
We'll just notice if there's any separation in the joints, if anything's sticking up proud.
There's a small corner missing here.
And that's right where the steel plate is there?
This is a steel plate, but there's the edge there.
Okay, so a little bit of a hard edge there. It's a little irregular.
I can see some rebar and everything at the bottom there where it should be.
Okay, Roger that. So how big of an area is that? And that's the inside edge of the bottom there. And that's part of where it would have separated from that other piece, correct?
I believe that's probably part of it right there.
So yeah, so there is a big 8-foot section that's separated from the very bottom there.
I think that's just an uneven corner that broke when that piece separated.
Okay, Roger that. And that big area you've seen on the outside there, that 8-foot area where it went in 6 feet, is that possibly from the same piece broke off, or is that just on a different area on the outside?
I think it's from the same thing, but it broke from below the main ramp.
Okay, so it created a void underneath when the whole thing separated.
That's correct.
Because it's deeper on the outside edge. Okay, I got that. So just start making your way up there. And can you pan across and see the whole surface of the ramp there?
I can. I don't know how it plays on the...
I just want to make sure we don't miss anything. I want to make sure there's nothing sticking up proud, there's no major voids or concrete loss. I want you to kind of backtrack right up the ramp here because we're getting close to the ferry transporting back across.
Roger that. I'm moving up the ramp. Can you see?
Yeah, I'm going to take you off record now anyway, and we're going to get you because the ferry's going to be leaving soon. Okay, Logan, we're just at the base of the ramp here again. I just want to get another look. So around the 300-foot mark across the southern face of the dock here, so just on the ramp face, we notice that there's a separation at the very bottom of the concrete ramp. And there's actually an 8-foot piece of the ramp that's separated on the bottom, about a 4-foot separation laying on the seabed. And I'll get you a look at that in a second. But right here, you notice that there's a heavy contact mark right on the surface of the concrete.
There's a good number of contact marks actually here.
So possibly where the ramp contacts at low tide? Or?
Correct. And here's the beginning of the cracking. Fairly substantial loss. But I believe it keeps cracking and spider webbing to these areas where you can also see contact marks. And here's the separation, the main separation we talked about earlier, only about 8 feet away.
Roger that. So that piece is actually separated 8 feet?
Sorry, no, the 8-foot wide piece is...
Roger, okay, so that piece that you can see separated there to the offshore side, that's an 8-foot section of concrete ramp that's actually separated and fell apart. And then directly below you, kind of in front of you where your knees are there, that's the area where we've seen the undermining, which is undermining due to the undermining and plus the separation of the concrete falling away there.
That's correct.
And you can see, and we say that's about 6 foot deep?
I would say from the outside edge, where the corner is where I should be right now, it's probably 8 feet to the furthest.
Okay, is that rebar I'm seeing just above you there?
This is rebar.
So that's just another, so that's the outside edge, the southeast corner there, that actually separated with that big piece that fell off the extreme eastern side there.
Yep, you can see 3 pieces of rebar here, blunt.
Roger, and that's the bottom of the ramp there. So anyway, there's a large loss at the bottom with the undermining present there from the loss.
That's cool.
And I guess that could have been flowed and sucked out of there in movement because the concrete was separated itself.
And I believe the cracking from that loss is what we're seeing up here further back.
Roger, so this piece is actually separating itself.
It's separating.
And how far is that from the end, from the extreme end?
6 to 8 feet.
So it's another 8 foot section about to separate.
That's correct. You can see some rebar just here.
Okay, no, I got some good notes on that, Logan, so I want you to continue your way across here on the upper face of the ramp. We'll try to get that completed, make sure we don't find anything major, and before the ferry comes back across here. So any major loss, any big cracks, anything sticking up proud, we'll just have a really good look.
Roger that, and I'm not sure how it plays on the camera, but if I go in the center, I can see both sides here.
Yeah, well, just as long as you don't miss anything. We want to get some good video, but just make sure you're showing me what you look at.
So you can see some concrete loss here. This is level here. So it's a pretty hard edge that it drops down 2 or 3 inches.
Okay, Roger, that's on the inside there by the dock?
That's correct, and I'd say it likely was a joint. It looks too perfect a line, and...
Okay, so that section of the ramp is actually sunk down, or is the next one up proud? Because that could have separated due to what's happening, the shift on the bottom there.
I don't think it's separation. I think it's concrete loss right here.
Okay, so that's just possibly from contacting from the ramp dragging down?
I believe so.
Okay, roger that.
Some concrete loss here. You can see the rebar.
Okay, roger, and that's on the side close to the dock here, the north side?
That's on the north side, correct. Actually, where the rebar travels, I don't know if it's rebar or if it used to be rail or something that runs along here.
Okay, Roger, so it's just like, how deep of an area is that runs pretty much the full longitudinal length there?
It's about a 2 or 3 inch deep gouge. You can see rebar, I believe, actually no, that looks like plate that's been burned.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was a rail or a pad or...
Could it possibly been like a piece of steel plate that it was for abrasion, for scraping across?
Possibly, yeah.
But again, so it's about 1 or 2 inch deep of spalling there, just kind of running. I can see a good shot there, just running up the inboard side. And is that consistent with the outside here?
It is. It's the same piece of plate.
So is there actually plate missing there, it seems then? Or no, is that just exposed now because of where the scraping of the ramp is going down, it's contacting and pushing through to that steel there?
That's correct. It's exposed now, and you can see some repair work here of different concrete where they've covered it in.
Okay, so how far of a length of an area were you looking at back there where it was fully exposed?
It's most of the ramp.
Okay, so pretty consistently throughout those pieces of steel are coming up proud, and the actual concrete is separating and cracking away from it.
That's correct. I don't believe the steel is not proud of the actual ramp face.
Okay, so it's breaking away, the concrete's falling away from the sides of the steel, but the steel is not proud of the face of the surface of the ramp.
That's correct. So after that repair, you can see more of it here.
Okay, roger that. So again, it's in that same area on both sides?
It is the same area both sides.
And how far are they from the edges?
About 2.5 feet from the edge.
From the inside and outside edge, okay.
You can see repairs.
So they definitely filled in some material over top of it there, but that's breaking free.
This is breaking free, and there it's broken free.
Okay, so it possibly could have been repaired throughout, but I mean, for percentage-wise on the ramp face here that you've seen, how much of those two areas there are exposed?
So far, I'd say about half on each side.
Okay, about 50% on each side.
I'm coming to the water line here, but...
Okay, so the surface there, and we're noticing another area here too with some exposed steel. And that looks like where the ramp may be contacting at high tide as well, correct?
I believe so, yes. And that's the water line here.
Just 1 sec, I'll get a measurement there. feet mark going across the southern face there. You're seeing a horizontal area there of some spalling coming across possibly a joint there.
I believe so, yeah.
And then what we're seeing is about 50% of the sides running longitudinally. There's an area of exposed steel sticking up about 2.5 feet from each side, outer edge and inside edge. And we're noticing that there is some 1 to 2 inch deep spalling there, about 6 inches wide for over 50% of each side, with a previous repair in place, but that repair appears to be breaking free, and a lot of it's missing now.
That is correct.
Okay, anything else you want to add on the ramp here?
No, besides those two launch loading areas, everything else seems to be fair.
And they improve up here above the waterline, correct?
They do.
So it's probably something from abrasion in contact with the ramp throughout the landing.
That's true.
Okay, roger that. I'm going to take you off course.
Okay.
Okay, Logan, just one more video here, just because this seems to be the main deficiency that we found, and I just want to make sure we get as much information as possible. So again, at the bottom of the ramp here, basically the ramp that's secure right now, and it's all one piece, ends at about 300 feet across the dock here at our increments. So then there's a section that actually broke free. Is that to your right there?
That's the section. This is,
Are you on the section that broke free?
I'll back up. That's the other. There's a section at each corner. Here's the...
Roger, sorry. The large piece right there to your east, yeah, that's actually an 8-foot section of the railing that's actually separated and broken off at the base.
That's correct.
So that's the full width of the ramp plus 8 feet that's actually broken free, separated. Now when you look to the west, to your left there, then now you're showing us where it broke free from. There's broken off there, exposed rebar on the northern and southern ends there.
That's correct.
And you can see the broken off rebar there on the end. And that's right adjacent to the dock face, the southern dock face. Okay, now just make your way over to the southern side. And how much clearance is there where the undermining continues underneath the face there?
Sorry, say that pretty.
How much undermining is under the face there, height?
It increases as you go.
Just give me the north one, because we know that on the south it's about 3 feet.
At the north, it's about a foot at the max.
Okay, now make your way right across to the south there, and we'll have a look at that corner as well as that large void of undermining that is present. And again, this could be possibly due to the prop wash from the ferry coming and going as well. But that's a large chunk of concrete separated right in front of you there on the southeastern corner of the ramp. And that's the void underneath everything there. So what, at a maximum, again, I know we went through this, but I just want to make sure, what overall size is that void?
Just take my head in here. It's a corner piece, so I would say it's, on the diagonal, it's about 8 feet. It's about 3 feet high.
About 6 feet deep, you said?
From the corner, yeah, at the max.
Okay, right. So 8 feet width, 6 feet deep, and about 3 feet high on that southeast corner of the ramp where it actually broke free. So this isn't the true end of the ramp, but this is the end of the part that's still connected all the way to the surface.
That's correct.
And you can see it is a rather large void, and if you pan to the east, that is where the large 8-foot section has actually broken free, and it's about 4 feet away, resting on bottom. Maybe just have a look at that. Right beside you there?
That's the piece here.
Okay, and just come up and look down at that from the surface. Right, so it's a full section there, about 8 feet long, that actually broke free and fell downhill away from the ramp itself. Now just quickly look up at the areas that we mentioned that are actually deteriorating. There's heavy spalling coming from some of the steel frame that's pushing up through. And we just want to note that pretty much throughout the entirety of the bottom here, that piece of steel is exposed with some spalling and concrete loss around it. And as you make your way closer to the surface, you can see there the steel is exposed, and there's some small spalling coming away from that. Just back off a little bit. And that increases and stays pretty consistent as you make your way up. And as you get near the surface, there's some previous repairs that you might be able to get to here. So the entire area here, I don't know if that steel is recessed a bit.
Some of it's flushed where it looks.
And again, you're showing like 1 to 2 inches of missing concrete there, spalling off away from the steel.
That's correct.
And is that a repair area here, or just a...
I'm not sure. Now, there's an area here where it's still...
Okay, so that's actually an area that's still remaining of original material, but right away, again, you can see, and this is making your way up the southern side. This is the equidistant on each side, about 2.5 feet from the sides, and you can see it's spalling and loss right off of the steel frame part of the inside of the railway system there. And as you get up near the surface into the tidal zone, there's some repair areas. Those areas are breaking free. See if you can get up to one of them there, and we'll have a look.
The repair area right here.
Okay, and you can see that either from the gate on or just contact is cracking and breaking free. Just make your way up that repair there if you can.
Pretty much.
Okay, come to the surface and pan up into the dry for me. See there, now that's the area of the repair, that's a large area that's missing up there. So pretty much throughout the entirety, there's some level of spalling or loss along that piece of steel framing for the rail. It's not proud, it is recessed in, but there is definitely some missing material throughout the entirety, and this as well on the inside one, if you want to just follow that back out on your way out.
After that. So this is repair here.
Okay, so repair area, you can see the edges there, so just make your way down. And again, back again, we're down to the missing material here. And again, this is probably in large part to the gate resting down on top of the ramp itself, pushing down on that piece of steel, breaking away the pieces, a small piece of concrete at a time. And a little bit heavier in that area. So at a maximum 1 to 2 inches in depth, and on an average probably 6 inches either side of the steel.
That's correct, and I can feel the steel here. It is exposed. It's just covered in growth. So you're getting into the original rail here.
And again, is that a steel plate there?
That's the original one it used to be attached to.
Roger, so the actual steel plating that would have been resting on top of there for a guard for the abrasions of the gate is missing pretty much throughout the entirety of both sides. That's why the repair is up there at the top.
That's correct, and here it ends here at the end, but...
Roger, and deflected there, yeah. Okay, no, that's really good. We got good information there on the bottom condition of that ramp. That's good. That's going to conclude our survey over here on the Tiverton side, and I'm going to take you off court.
Roger that.
Okay, Logan, continuing on our structural survey at the Tiverton Wharf for the ferry landing here. We're just on the north side, and we're going to start going around and having a good look at the face of the wharf. We're going to look at the timber cribbing, look for any undermining, see if there's separation between the cribs, any missing ballast stone, anything that you can notice as a defect we want to point out. So we'll just have a good look here as you make your way across.
Roger that. Just point there from the shore in. As you can see already, it's very tight timbers.
Okay, Roger.
So there's no gaps yet that I can see in.
And that's running into some new stone because there's a newer public ramp beside you there.
That is correct.
And again, if you notice anything major, then I'll get a location from you and we'll make our way from there.
Roger that. I'm just taking note of all the mounting hardware, and everything seems to have a little bit of rust on it, but in good condition. Everything looks secure. So far, no ballast stone visible.
Okay, Roger that. And it's still really tight between the timber cribbing.
That's correct.
Okay. And again, if you do find something, I'll get an elevation from the seabed for it from you, and then when we do a sounding later, we'll specify the actual elevation from the deck here.
Roger that. Coming to the first ladder here, you can see some fairly substantial cracking here.
On the ladder?
Yes, on the ladder timber, the bottom one. Actually, two timbers right here.
Okay, Roger. So that's just on the ladder itself, not the actual structural cribbing?
Just on the ladder, not on the structure.
Okay, Roger that.
And it's only a couple feet off bottom.
Roger.
You can see along the top of the timber cribbing and the dry.
Yeah, there's a lot of exposed aggregate there. Definitely some heavy concrete loss in the tidal zone.
There is a lot of area missing there.
Okay, Roger. And you're approximately around the 150 mark there.
Roger that.
Again, our focus is the underwater portion, but if we do notice anything major, we'll make note to at least have a look at it.
It's a good 100 feet.